Hey everybody, so happy to have you here. I'm Lauren Quigley, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this awesome rainbow bead ring. So Rich, if you could switch over to the overhead mode, we can take it over from there. Please and thank you. Awesome. Okay, so this is what we're going to be making, a ring, and I also made a bangle to show you how cute and easy this is. And I also really thought that the rainbows kind of reminded me of Lucky Charms, which really goes with the, could be some St. Patrick's Day accessory inspiration. So what we're going to be using are a UV resin mold. This is from Michaels, and so is the bangle. You can find this from Michaels. And then we're going to be using our seed beads in the size 6 in 5 different colors. We have rose, orange, the silver lined pineapple, green, and then mint julep. So when working with resin, a few things that I like to keep on hand are some silicone tools because the UV resin doesn't stick to the silicone, okay? So those are really good to have. We also want to have some of our gloves to protect ourselves from the UV resin because we don't want to get that on our fingers. We want to make sure that we are wearing these, keeping it off of our fingers. And if you do get it on your finger, baby wipes. You want to keep these off to the side. And in fact, I will take one out because we are going to want to use that to wipe off like our little needle if we need it. This is just a flat back needle that I'm going to have to place the beads into the molds that we have. Now, when working with UV resin, you want to make sure that or with not UV resin, but resin in general, you want to make sure that you're working with color fast items so that the dye won't run. Now these beads are not color fast, but because the UV resin dries so quickly, it cures very quickly. We don't need to worry about that. I didn't get any dye leaks or anything at all. If you look closely at these, they are so pretty. The resin is nice and clear and the beads look fantastic. So I didn't have any issue there. Next, to cure the UV resin, you need some sort of UV light. So I am using a light. This is actually what I use to do my nails. Michaels has UV lights. They also have a flashlight version. And if you don't have access to a UV light, if you have a nice and sunny day, then you can just take your project outside and let it cure in the sun. Now it'll take a little bit longer, but that's totally okay. And it's actually one of my favorite ways to cure UV resin because once it starts curing, you get a little bit of vapor coming off of the UV resin. So when it's outside, I prefer it that way. But inside for today's tutorial, it will be right here in my studio. Now I have used these molds before, so I just wanted to show you an easy way to clean your molds. So in case we finish this project and you're all done, I just wanted to show you, you can take some masking tape or painter's tape. I just keep this on hand. It's really nifty. And if you have any pieces of stray glitter, which here in my studio, I always have stray glitter everywhere, or little tiny droplets of UV resin, you just place it on there, run it across, pull it off, and then it comes off on the tape. I don't know if you can see the glitter on there, but it is on there. So I did clean these off a bit before I even got started with you all today. But I wanted to show you that quick tip just in case you need it for the future. And we'll put that off to the side and keep our wet wipe handy. Now, when working with UV resin, if you're mixing in an additive like glitter, this is one from Michaels. This is a really pretty chunky glitter. It's called Sugar. And I really love working with opal glitters because the way they reflect everything, it just looks really nice to me. We will not be using this in the ring mold, but I'm thinking about putting it in the bangle mold because there's a little bit more space in there. When working with a smaller mold like the ring mold, I would recommend using a fine glitter, not a chunky glitter, unless you're only using a glitter and not putting the beads in. Okay, so when you mix the UV resin with glitter, you can get these little micro bubbles just from mixing resin at all. You can get those micro bubbles. And so in order to pop those, you can wait a little while. I like to usually set my mold down and I'll tap it around a few times. I'll move it around a little bit to get those bubbles to move to the top. But once those bubbles are there, this is why I have this handy dandy lighter, because it will help us pop all of those little bubbles that rise to the top. You can also take like a little pin or a needle, flathead needle like I have here, and run it along the inside after of your mold after you put your resin in there. So I just wanted to share those little tips with you really quickly. Now I'm going to get our beads out, and then we can start placing our beads into our mold. But I'll use a little bit of UV resin first and then the beads. So we'll get these out. We have our rose color, orange, silver lined pineapple, which is so pretty. And make sure that you're using a bead that's either a flat color, a solid color, or a silver lined, because if you use a transparent bead, like if there wasn't the silver lining inside of that bead, you would kind of lose the bead in the resin. The color would still be there, but the shape would kind of look a little wonky underneath the resin. It's hard to describe, but if you've worked with resin before and you've put like clear or transparent beads or stones into it, it kind of loses its appearance. Okay, so now we have our beads out. They like to wander. Okay, here we go. Make sure everything is nice. Now I am going to use some UV resin. I'm going to put my glove on. Oh, really quick, before I cover this hand with the glove, last month for one of the classes for Michael's, we did a daisy chain necklace. And when the class was done, I finished off this daisy chain ring. So quick plug, if you were interested in learning how to make a daisy chain so you could make a bracelet, necklace, or ring, you can head over to the Michael's YouTube channel and check out how to make that, because that ring only takes you about 10 minutes to make. It's very quick and easy and so cute. I've already had some requests to make some more of those. Okay, so the ring size that I'm going to be using is a size 8. They have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend open the mold just a tiny bit, and I'm going to wait for my resin to come down to the top. And I'm going to pour, a little bit inside of there. Now it can be a little staticky, where it likes to veer off to the side. And that's okay. We're going to push it down with our silicone stick. And then if we need to, we can also wipe off the mold before we go to cure it with our baby wipe. You see how there's some of the UV resin right there around the top? That is okay. All right, I'm gonna take this and just kind of push that down on into there. When first pouring your resin in, you can get those, especially if it's a long thin line that's coming out, it tends to like to pull to the side. Okay. So now we're going to start with our beads. And you're just going to go in and make your pattern and push your bead down into the mold. Okay. Keep repeating that. Now you can place the beads either on their side or lined up so that they're straight on. It's totally artist preference, however you would like to do yours. And I also brought over a few alphabet beads because I thought, how cute would it be to have some alphabet beads in there as well. But I'll save the alphabet beads for the bangle because we're going to play around with that one too. Now, if you do get the resin on your finger, on your hand, which I have not yet, which is good, and I don't plan to. I've been working with it for a while, so I'm kind of used to it. But if you do, don't fret, just make sure to wipe it off first with a baby wipe. That really helps. And then you can go rinse off in the sink. A gritty soap sometimes helps. I have a textured soap that I love using for my hands if I happen to get resin on myself. Now, the beads also have the little hole in the middle because they're beads. So that could create a little air bubble, which will create a bubble in the resin. So that's why it's important before we go to cure our resin that we move it around a little bit and we play with the mold so that the bubbles rise to the top and will get filled up. Stretch that open. Okay. Now I have a little bit of gap in between that bead there, but I don't want to have to stick one more bead in because I want to stick with my rainbow. So I'm just going to take the tip of the pin head and kind of move the beads around so that they're nice and even in there with a tiny bit of gap between them so that it looks even. Now I'm going to flip this to the other side so that you can see it really quickly. You'll be able to see if there are any bubbles underneath. Okay, and if there are, then you just want to go in, kind of move them around. Get that resin flowing through the bead holes. There's a little bit of resin on the top there, so I'm going to push that down. Get that inside of there. Okay, now here, this is what I like to do. I use this, just keep this to the side, wipe it off, and put it down. We're good to go. So now here, tap the bottom. Make sure we're getting those bubbles out. The tapping it, kind of doing like this, even though the beads are flying, it's necessary to do. Okay, and you can flip it over, see if there's any more bubbles in there. Looks like we are good. So now I'm going to take some more resin. The lid is on, we are all in the clear. Okay, pick this up. Now very slowly, I'm going to pour this in again. Make sure you can see. Oh, got a bubble at the top there. Go nice and slow. Oh, there we go. Guide the resin in between the beads. Level out the resin. If you see any bubbles. Also, being patient, this isn't something that you want to rush because you really want to make sure in order to get a nice crystal clear non-bubble surface on your resin, you don't want to work it too much. You want to allow those bubbles to rise to the top, and the bubbles rise very slowly. it's not a fast process, even though the curing and everything is very fast. Okay.
Lauren, Margaret has a quick question.
Yes.
She's wondering, we noticed on the materials list, it lists the blue moon resin, UV resin, but she noticed that
Yes.
you're using a different type. Would you like to share which type of resin you're using?
I'm just using a UV resin that I've had for a while, and there's actually not that much left in it. That's why I'm using that one. But I have tried the Blue Moon one is the brand of these molds. Blue Moon Studio, it's the brand of both of these, and so I added that one because it's offered at Michael's. The one that I have right here, this is from the Glitter Guy. I believe that they've been out of stock with this one for a bit. But it's also a big container that I've had for a long time. And the Blue Moon one has the color on that one is blue. Blue and gray, I believe. Okay. So I'm gonna flip this over really quick. Can you see I don't see any beads? I mean, any bubbles. Our resin has settled into those crevices, and that is a good thing. So what we want to do in order to finish off the ring nice and make sure that there's a nice smooth edge around the top of it is we want to create kind of a nice raised edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe off that needle, and I'm going to wipe off around the top of our mold here. And I still see that I have a little bit of room left for some more resin. So we're going to add a little bit more into there. And from I know it's hard to see because I kind of have to keep this flat, but you want to make sure that you have a nice, that the resin is coming all the way up to that edge there, but not overflowing. So I'm just going to add a little bit more here. Oh. Move it around a little bit. Tap it. Hold it up and look at it from all different angles to see if you see any type of bubble in there. A little bit extra resin on there. I'm just going to get that off of there. It's not a lot, just a little. Okay. All right, now it looks like we are almost good to go to put this into our UV light. What I want to do is I'm just going to take our lighter and I'm just going to quickly go on top very quickly, just like that. See if I see that I have one, you can probably barely see it, one little air bubble that I want to get rid of. The air bubbles like to come to the top, and how you can get those to rise up, kind of squeeze it from underneath. Squeeze your mold. Get every little bubble to come to the top. And it takes a bit because they're very small little micro bubbles. hold it. I'm going to do it one more time. Quickly, quickly. Oh, yay, the bubble popped. I saw it pop. Let me see if there's any more. Oh, I see one right here. In between the pink and orange. But I bet that's underneath of the lip. That is why. I'm try to pull that out so that I can pop that. And every time, oh, and also working on, you may not be able to tell, but I'm working on top of a silicone surface. That just protects your surface because like I said, once the resin cures on top of it, it's very easy to clean up. You just pull it off. That's why working with the silicone tools are also very handy. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to slide this into our, oh, hold on. One more bubble just rose to the top. I see it right here. I think I can get it. Oh, perfect. Got it. All right, so we're going to take this and slide it into our light that we have down here. And I'm going to cure that for 1 minute. And then we'll take it out, look at it, move it, but not take it completely out yet. I'm going to try to cure it on the other side as well. Get these beads back together. And let's say I had been working on the bangle at the same time too. I wouldn't want to have this in the way of the light or near direct sunlight, maybe coming from my window, because you don't want that UV resin to get activated and start curing on you, because then you just have a messy situation. So I am not working on this one yet. We're going to wait until this cures. And that's another thing, if you're working in a space like mine, I do have 3 really large windows next to me. So I took the blinds and I kind of diverted the light up so that they weren't coming right in, because that has happened to me in the past when I've done a few paintings or mixed media projects, and then I'm in the middle of working on them and all of a sudden they start curing on me because of that sunlight. Okay. So it's only been in here for 1 minute. It's definitely not going to be done yet, but you can kind of feel that it's hardening up. Okay. So I'm going to put it in for 1 more minute at the top there, just to make sure that it's going. Here we go. Now the light that Michael's has, the flashlight, I also have I have the flashlight over here somewhere, but I don't want to use the flashlight because I use that for quick ones. That's also the Blue Moon brand. This one is the one that I use for my nails, but the one that Michael's has looks kind of just like this, but it's open on either side and it's white. There's many, like I feel like UV resin and the lamps, they're very kind of standard. You know, if you're buying something that's made for UV crafting, you'll be good to go. And just look how cute this one is. This is the one that I made previously. I think I had 1 bubble in there. We'll see if the next one has a bubble. Okay. So now that's out. It's feeling pretty good to me. It's hard. I can feel it at the top. You can feel that it's nice and hard. But before I demold it, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to cure it from the bottom now, just because any of the UV resin that does not meet the light will not be cured. So I'm going to flip it over so that any of that resin that may have been underneath of those beads there, just want to be super safe about it. Make sure that the resin is cured, because once it's cured, it's not toxic, or, you know, it's inert. I think that's the correct word for that.
Lauren, another question. Do
Yeah.
cure times differ based on what materials you're placing in the resin?
Yes. So if you were adding a colorant, maybe like turning the resin a flat color instead of transparent or opaque color, I mean, then you would definitely need to have a longer cure time. Just keeping the resin pure and clear, the cure time is going to be significantly shorter because there's not any colorant or glitter for the UV rays to have to penetrate through. But using, like I said before, an opal glitter, opal is really pretty because it's also transparent. The opals work really great for working with UV resin. But let's say you're working with a glitter that is opaque and it's a chunky glitter. You may have some issues with it curing, especially like the underside of it, like the deeper it goes. So the molds that we're using right here, these are very shallow. Like we're just doing a ring, but if you were doing something else, like let's say something that's deeper, maybe like an inch or so, maybe even a half inch, you may want to work in layers for that so that it's easier for it to cure. So what that means is you would maybe do a layer of regular UV resin, cure that, do a layer of glitter mixed with your resin that's very kind of thin, you know, maybe about a quarter of an inch or less, cure that, and then so forth. So you keep building up the layers. All right, so now I think we are good to go. Now that was 3 minutes total that we had it in there. I'm just gonna demold it, pull it out. Dun, dun, dun. Yay! Okay, it's so cute. Nice and hard. Actually, it looks just like the other one. Nice and hard. So the top of this looks fantastic. It has that a nice rim that I wanted around here. There's two little flakes that I can see. Now that flake is just the UV resin that kind of cured over the top of the mold. So how to get rid of that is with an X-Acto blade. Is that an X-Acto blade? No. You know, you're a crafter or an artist if you cannot find either scissors or your X-Acto blade. Am I right? That's why we like to have a million. I do have scissors. I would be using an X-Acto blade for this, but I honestly was not thinking that I would be doing this right now. But this is good so I can get to show you. So pretend this was an X-Acto blade or a precision blade. You would just take the edge of it and go right up against there and cut that off. Okay. And by cut, it's not really a cut, it is a slice. And then, so that is removed. It does not feel sharp to me. If it was sharp, what I would do is take a very high grit sanding paper and file that down just a little bit. And then an even higher grit sanding pad or a polishing paper would polish this baby right up and make it look so cool. But it's already very shiny. It's already very shiny from the side, you can see, which I love. And there we go, we have our rings. My daughter asked for a matching one. Every time I make something, she wants it. So I said, okay, well, don't worry, I'm doing the class today, so you can have one when you get home from school. Okay, so there's our ring. We'll move on to the bangle. The bangle is a little bit deeper, and this is also that same brand, the Blue Moon Studio. Now I'm going to attempt to put letters in here. I'm going to go with lucky because, you know, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. And what I'm going to attempt to do is to keep these letters up straight so that they look good. Okay, so my plan here is we're going to stick with the rainbow. I'm going to add in our UV resin first. Now this will take more resin because this is deeper. And actually, let me know in the chat, would you like me to add some glitter to the back of this so that you can see how to mix glitter in, or are you good with the transparent? And then somebody will have to tell me because I can't see comments.
All right, we're seeing yes to the glitter.
Okay, yay. I'm glad that there's a yes to glitter because I love glitter. Okay, so I got a little bit of resin in the inner edge there. I'm just gonna let that sit for a second. Take my needle, just do a quick run through. Or I keep saying needle, but it's not that sharp. It's a flat head, a flat needle. So I'm just kind of doing that to make sure that it all smooths out. Now I'm going to hold my head to the side. You can't really see me, but I'm just looking underneath there to see what it looks like. Okay, we should be good. Okay, now I am going to start with the rainbow portion. I'm going to load the rainbow up on here first. And then we'll put that in. Boom, just like that. Repeat this over and over. Now the beads, when they're going in, they're falling to the side, which is okay, because then once we get more beads in there, we'll be able to use our flathead needle and push them together, sit them back up. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. Just showing you and it's, I know it's hard to see in here because of the mold itself, because the top of it doesn't have a nice large opening. That's okay. Let's get more beads in there. Got to load it up first. And then we'll come back and fix everything before we start curing. Now I'm going to cure this one in a layer. Okay, perfect. And once you get the motion, getting your beads on there and everything, you get a lot faster. Yes, okay. Another rainbow set. Push that in there. Now, having the UV flashlight is very convenient for having to do it's not a full cure, but it's like a quick kind of spot. I won't call it a cure. Set. It's like kind of setting the resin, but it wouldn't be fully cured. So I don't have mine on hand right now. I thought I did. I looked over here in my little drawer and it's not there. Who knows where on earth that is? That's what happens in the studio. I'm sorry about that. But if I had it, what I would do is once I get the letters in there, I would take that flashlight from the side and just do a little set of that resin so that the letters are standing up how I want them. Because this mold, you can't tell from looking at it head on, but it is about, what is this? I don't know, it's pretty thick. It's pretty thick, so the beads could settle in there as it's curing. That's why I want to work in a layer also. You know what? I just had an idea. Maybe I'm going to do it so that the letters are flat down instead. I kind of like that idea. We're going to see how that goes. I'm going to try that out. You probably don't know what I'm talking about right now, but you will see it once we do it.
Hi, Lauren. Just a quick question.
Yes.
Your gloves, they're latex?
They're nitrile gloves. So that I think I'm saying that right. Am I saying that right? Nitrile, nitrile. I hope I'm saying that right. Okay, so I'm going to put the letters in, and how I decided I'm going to do them is I'm actually going to do them flat down. So now that we have all of our beads in there, I'm just going to try to even them out a little bit. Scoot them around. nothing's cured, so our beads are very fluid right now. We can move these as we want. Now, I'm gonna have to put this in kind of like a mirror image, because the bottom, the upside down of the mold is what is going to be the top. So I'm going to try my best. Get that in there. Let me see. Got to hold it up. Okay, there we go. All I'm doing now is I'm just moving some of the beads out of the way. Next is the U. And C. Gotta hold it up so I can see it from underneath. Make sure that it's how we need it or how we want it. O-U-C. Grab our K. Okay. Now I'm just going to scoot our beads around some more because I want to fit that Y in there. Because as I'm holding it up, the beads are kind of, sliding around. L, U, C, K. Here comes the Y. Ooh, I may have put that one in upside down. Let me see. Oh, yeah, just gotta turn it a little bit. Oh, this is why we have the needle. Perfect. Okay. Now tap it down. We want any of those bubbles to come up. One blue bead that switched spots with the green, so I gotta move that around. Okay. All right. Let me look from the bottom. Looks like we're good. So now what we're gonna do is I am going to put this inside of our light, underneath of the light, to cure up for a minute. 1 minute. Okay, now while that is going, when you're mixing the UV resin, you want to make sure that you are staying out of the light. So I'm going to wait until that's done. But I get these little plastic containers. You can do it inside of any type of plastic or silicone container, really. But I like to do the plastic containers because they're easier to clean than the silicone. The silicone, like I said, you can use tape. That's a really good hack for getting the extra little pieces of UV resin out. But when you use plastic, especially like a plastic that has like a smooth surface, once it's cured, like I would just when I was done completely with my project, I would put this entire cup of whatever residue was left in there under the light let it cure, and then you literally just squeeze it a little, boop, 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 and then you would pop it right out. And then boom, it's clean. No need to do the tape or anything extra like that. Okay, so I'm gonna wait till the light goes off because I definitely don't want our thing to get to start curing. Okay, so I feel that it's still a little bendy. Okay, but it's not like a hard cure. We're good. But we also don't want to bend it too much because what we don't want to do is we don't want to break that seal from the that the UV resin has made with the silicone, because if we were, then when we would put more resin back in, it would kind of seep in between those areas, and then you would have like a different type of it wouldn't just be a smooth texture all around. You'd have to go back and then sand your piece down and all of that great jazz. Okay, wait, really quick. I'm going to do that for 30 more seconds just because it was a little bit more bendy. For the next part, though, it'll be different. It'll be a little bit longer, but that's because we'll have the glitter in there. And it'll look just like this, but it will have that pretty opal look behind it. Now I do have a fine opal glitter, but it's not from Michael's, not because I don't want it from Michael's. It's just because I don't have a fine glitter on hand from them, but I have a bunch of chunky glitters on hand, like almost this whole collection I have, which I love. So let me just see how this will work. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a good amount in here because we're going to have to fill up the whole rest of that mold. Actually, let me pull it out so that I'm not tempted to pull with it. Okay. So we're just going to squeeze nice and slow, squeeze out. Don't try to do like a long squeeze. Don't like let go and squeeze again, because what's going to happen is you're going to insert more air bubbles, where we're really trying to avoid that. We want to have the least amount of bubbles as possible. So I'm kind of just squeezing what's left of this resin out, or trying to get it out. And if I have a little, I'd rather mix a little bit more than I need than not have enough and have to go back. So this should be good. Okay. Put that back over there. So here's our chunky glitter. This is called Sugar. Very pretty. Oh, now you don't want to use so you know, it's up to you how much you use, but you don't want it to have so much glitter in it that it's so thick and that the bubbles will not be able to come out. That's really not what we want. Look how pretty that is. Yes, this is, oh, I just looked down and happened to catch a comment, which is very rare. That is Recollections glitter, and it's called Sugar. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna mix very slowly. And this is just a regular silicone tool. And it also helps if you can warm up your resin beforehand, and that will help. Or you can, you know, hit it with a lighter while you're mixing it. See, right now I'm just going really slow, but this is intentional. I just really want to make sure that we're minimizing those bubbles, because if you really start to whip it up, those bubbles will almost, it'll take a really long time for them to go down. And it will also, they may not even go down. To be honest, they may not, if there's too many. But helping the resin be warm can really assist. Now, one way you can run your container of UV resin, just the bottom of the container, under warm water before you even go to use it. And that will help the resin flow a little bit better. Another thing you can do is take a baby bottle warmer, which I don't have those anymore. My 4 kids are finally all out of diapers and don't need a bottle. Hallelujah. But yeah, those are just 2 ways. Or while you're heating it, if you happen to have like a heat gun, You can hit it with the heat gun really quickly because heat guns are pretty powerful. You don't need too much. You don't want to get it sitting on there. You can start to burn that resin and then it won't be good. All right, let me hold this up because there's not a lot of bubbles in here, but it's very pretty. Ooh, okay. So now what we're going to do is very carefully start to pour it in. You want to go slow. Oh my gosh, as I'm saying go slow, it's like literally just pouring out. That's okay. This happens. It will be fixed. Do not you worry. Learn from my mistakes. Actually, I always say there's no mistakes made in the craft room. Do you know why? Because they literally just help us get better every single time. Every single time. All right, so use that silicone tool, push that all in there. So I'm just going to slowly drag it and push it down. Perfect. And then we'll definitely clean up these edges before we go to cure. I'm probably going to have to pour a little bit more in here. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you can tell, but this is looking so pretty. Those flecks of opal in there are just gorgeous, and they're going to look so good along the backdrop of those beads. Now, here in my space, I do a lot of like mixed media art. So mixing beads and glitter and just random things into the things that I like to make is so normal for me. And I really love, instead of just having a regular beaded bracelet, this is like more funky. I'm a fan. I like it. Let me put that to the side. Working on a flat surface also helps to ensure that everything is nice and even. Okay. So now I'm going to kind of take the tip of the silicone part and I'm going to smear that over here, the resin over here, because I have some spots over here that need some more resin. Now I'm going to have to, yes. Oh, sorry. I heard Rich coming on.
Robin's wondering, what's your next class? Do you know what it will be?
Oh, I wish I knew. I actually, I'm not scheduled for any more classes yet with John Bead, but I would love to do some more. Michael's, John Bead, holler at your girl. There are many things that if you follow me, Lauren Quigley Creations on all platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest, Lemonade, Threads, all of that great jazz. My projects are very, number one, colorful, but I can't stick with one medium too long. Yeah, I love beading. I love painting. I love disco art. I do a lot of disco projects. I do clay. I originally went to school for ceramics and I stuck with that for a while. I loved ceramics. I also like to sew. I mean, really the list of the punch needle, freehand embroidery, the list goes on and on of the things I like to do. And that's really shown in my art. And it's fun for me to get my kids involved. My kids, I have four kids, all under the age of 9. And they are so artsy. I love it. It's my favorite thing. Okay. So let me show you now. I'm going to wipe the top of this off with a new baby wipe, just the edge of it. I'm going to wrap it around my finger. and do a one wipe swipe all around that top area there. Because of that overflow that happened. I just want to get up as much of that as I can. Okay, so now we're going to squeeze that just a little, just the top portion. Don't squeeze that bottom because we don't want to break that seal of that UV resin from under there. Now what I'm going to have to do is, because there wasn't enough resin, remember I said we want to have more resin mixed than not enough? Of course, that would happen. Oh, I ran out of resin in that container that I just mixed up, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to fill that back up with just regular transparent resin. So just squeeze that top. We're squeezing that so that we can get those bubbles to come to the top, out from underneath of those edges. Take our handy dandy lighter. Do a quick sweep. Quick sweep. Now let it go. Look at it. Decide if there are any bubbles you need to bring to the surface by taking your pin tool and going around the top there. That'll help any of the little escapees. We don't want those bubbles in there. Get out of here. Because a lot of, when working with chunky glitter, you know, they like to hide underneath of those chunky glitter pieces. And it's our job to get them out of there. But I think that this is going really well. I think that it looks really good. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this around one more time. Oh, one thing I just have to talk about for safety reasons. Some people like to use a spritz of alcohol. Okay, so they'll spray alcohol and that helps pop the bubbles. That is very effective. Okay. But what I've seen happen is people will do that and then they won't let the alcohol, you know, not burn off, evaporate. And then they'll go in with the lighter. All of a sudden you got a fire on your hands. Okay. We do not want that to happen. So that is why for this workshop, I chose not to even mess with the alcohol and to just be patient and only use the lighter. Okay, so I just want to tell you that in case you see it or you've worked with UV resin before, then you know. Because there are a few different ways and techniques that people use to pop bubbles. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the resin. I'm just going to add a little bit more because I see that I just need a tiny bit more around those edges there. No, I really am going to go slow for this. I said I was going to do it before, but. Okay. Now, that should be exactly what we need. So I'm going to hold it up so you can see. I can see that I will have to cut off a little bit of the, you know, it kind of looks like water droplets. Those are okay. Those are okay. Those are very easy to clean off at the end. Don't worry about those. We're just going to see if we have a bubble. I have a bubble here that's rising up because of the resin that I just added. So I'm going to pop that one really quickly. It's gone. It has disappeared. Good. Oh, one more here that I see that has popped up. I'm gonna pop that. It just popped. Now it'll settle back down. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna put it in here. 60 seconds, and then we'll do another 60 seconds. It's very fun working with UV resin, and there's so many different molds and things that you can find at Michael's, which I like. One of the ones that I use kind of frequently, the little dog tag. Those are really cute. And when working with UV resin, you know, there's a few different types of molds that are available. And you can tell that it'll work with UV resin if it's a clear mold like this. This is what you need in order to work with UV resin. So I know that Michael's does have other molds, but if it is not clear, then you'll only be curing the very top area that is reaching the UV light. So when I buy my molds, I tend to just gravitate towards the UV molds in general because you can use them with regular resin as well. It doesn't have to just be the UV resin. Now, you could also use UV resin, I mean, not UV resin, regular resin in these types of molds, but remember what I said about why I like to use the UV resin with the beads. Oh, I'm curing it one more time in case you didn't catch that. But the reason why is because if I were to use these beads in regular resin, about 30 minutes into the cure, it would you would slowly start to see a little dye line, like the color kind of coming off of it. Now I made this huge candy table. It was so cool. And I used all different types of candies, rock candy, candy boxes, and it was really cool. It was my first time doing something to scale that big, but some of the candies, because they were real candy that I used, at first it looked so great, and then the dye started to run, and there was nothing I could do about it but just sit and slowly watch the dye go away. It was still cool in the end. That was a gift that I made for my sister-in-law, but it was really cool. There's some fun things that you can do with resin and UV resin. You just have to make sure that you're protecting yourself, using the proper PPE and everything. Okay, so this still feels, I can still squeeze it a little bit. So we do not want that. We're gonna put it back in there. Do another minute. See, it'll just take longer this time around, and that's okay. Oh, wow, we're almost at our full hour, which is crazy because I was thinking beforehand, oh my goodness, I hope I don't finish this in only 20 minutes. That would be crazy, but it's okay. We're right on time. We'll be getting this cured before then for sure. And I really hope that you like this class, this little workshop that we had. And I have some other classes for Michael's and John Bead that you can find on their YouTube channel. I did some, oh, I actually have something behind me. These little beaded, we've made these little beaded brooches. Last month I did the daisy chain. I've done beaded picture frames. Oh, let me show you that one too while we're here. That look like this. And so very, very, very fun. There's lots of beaded. I know I've done more. There's definitely more classes. Just go take a look. Maybe search my name on the Michael's YouTube. Okay, so it still feels a little, it's barely moldable, but I can still feel it. So I'm going to put that, now I'm turning it upside down. You know what I noticed? When I do 30 seconds, the light tends to look brighter. I don't know if that's just my imagination or not, but I'm just going to stick with that and see what happens. And take the glove off. And this may have done the trick because it was right there. One. Oh yeah, that feels good. All right, so now we're going to unmold it. Remember, there are still some of those little pieces. They told you they look like little water drops. That's okay. That's how you clean the mold at the very end with the tape. Oh, pulling that stuck in there. So cute. And you see that, hold on, let me hold it. You see the glitter underneath? And then the other side, looks like this, but I have to go in and scrape off those the little ends that I told you. That's all we need to do to get those little ends off of there is you take your little blade and you scrape them off very gently. And that's just because we use that baby wipe on there. But besides that, it looks really good. Well, that is the end of this class, and I hope that you enjoyed making this with me, and you can find me at Lauren Quigley Creations on all platforms. Have a great day.